Now let's start working on our bottom navigation bar. The first thing we have to do is inside of our nav screen, we're going to define a bottom navigation bar, and this is going to have 5 different pages. The first page is our feed screen, the second page is our search screen, third is our create post screen, fourth is our notification screen, and fifth is our profile screen. We're going to be using a bottom nav bar qubit to preserve the state of our bottom navigation bar. That way we're able to know which screen the user is currently looking at. Let's log into the account we made previously. And now we're on our nav screen. The first thing we're going to do is create a new folder in our lib directory called enums, short for enumerations. We're going to have our barrel file, enums.dart, and inside enums, we're going to make another file called bottom nav item. Our bottom nav item enum is going to contain our 5 different screens. So we have feed, search, create, notifications, and profile. Let's export this file inside enums.dart. And now if we go back to nav screen, we can create a mapping of each one of these bottom nav items to an icon. And we'll call this items, and it will be constant. And here I have to fix the import to just enums.dart. First we have our feed, so bottom nav item.feed, and this will be icons.home. Bottom nav item.search, icons.search, and I'm going to copy this 3 more times. Next we have create, which would be icons.add, then notifications, icons.favorite _ border, and finally we have profile, and for this one we'll use account _ circle. Now just like we did with our splash screen, we should wrap our nav screen here with will pop scope and set on will pop to false. And that way the user is not able to go back to the login screen or sign up screen from our nav screen. Let's add child here and the extra parentheses. And here we can start working on our bottom nav bar. Bottom navigation bar is a parameter inside of our scaffold. And here we can just start writing bottom navigation bar. And if we hover over it, we can see we have all these different parameters that we can define. Since we're going to be defining a lot of these, I recommend separating out your bottom navigation bar into a different file. Because our bottom navigation bar is only going to be used inside of our nav screen, let's make a new folder inside nav called widgets. And here we can make our barrel file called widgets.dart. And we're going to export bottom nav bar.dart. Let's create bottom nav bar.dart now. And this is going to be a stateless widget, bottom nav bar. Remember to import material. And this is going to take in 3 different parameters. The first is a final map bottom nav item to icon data. And these are the items we defined right here. Next we have bottom nav item, and this is the currently selected item. And then finally we have a function that returns an integer, and this is on tap. Let's generate the constructor. And now down here in our build function, we can define our bottom navigation bar. Bottom navigation bar. And the first parameter is items. Since we already know what icon we want each item to be, we can do items.map, and this is going to give us a key value, where the key is the bottom nav item, and the value is the icon. So let's rename this to item, and the value will be icon. Here we're going to make a map entry, and the key is going to be item.toString. And then the value will be bottom navigation bar item. The bottom navigation bar item requires a label, and we're going to have an empty label since we don't want it showing up. And then the icon will be icon with a size of 30.0. Here you can see we're getting an error about map string bottom navigation bar item can't be assigned to a list of bottom navigation bar items. And that's because items is a list of bottom navigation bar items. Our value in our map entry is the bottom navigation bar item. So in order to make this items point to this, all we have to do is put a dot after our map, grab the values, which is going to be an iterable of bottom navigation bar items, and then we can convert this to a list. And now that error goes away. Let's go back to our nav screen, and here we can access our bottom nav bar. On tap will just be empty for now. Items, we pass in items, and then the selected item. For now, we'll just set it to the feed screen until we set up our qubit. Inside of our simulator, you can see the bottom navigation bar appeared, but it looks like each one of the items is white on top of a light gray bottom nav bar. To change the colors of our items, let's go back to bottom nav bar. And the first thing we're going to do is set the background color to colors.white. We're going to set the selected item color to theme.ofContext.primaryColor, which is our blue color we defined in main.dart. On selected item, the color will be colors.gray. And then the current index will be bottom nav item dot values dot index of the selected item. And that's how we get the current index. We just take our bottom nav item enum, turn it into a list of values, and then grab the index for the selected item. Now if we take another look at our bottom nav bar, we can see that the home is a little off-centered, and that's because we have show selected labels on. So we can set show selected labels to false, and we can also set show unselected labels to false. And if we look a little bit closer, we can see home and search have a lot of space between each other. To fix this, we can set the type of our bottom navigation bar to bottom navigation bar type dot fixed. And now they're all an equal distance apart. The last thing we have to do here is set on tap to our on tap we pass in. Now if we pop open our debug console and go back to nav screen, inside the on tap here, let's print the index. And then whenever we tap, we can see the index is printed out. Now let's work on storing the selected item for our navigation bar using a bottom nav bar qubit. Let's right click on the nav folder, click new qubit, and this will be bottom nav bar. Once this generates, let's go into our bottom nav bar state, and here we can remove abstract, remove bottom nav bar initial, and then we have final bottom nav item, selected item. And then we should make this required on our bottom nav bar state. For props, we're going to set selected item. And instead of writing our stringify method and setting that to true, what we can actually do to avoid having to write this for every single file we create an equatable instance is go into main.dart, and inside main before run app, all we have to do is write equatable config.stringify and set that equal to kdebug mode. Now to get kdebug mode, you need to import foundation, and let's hover over equatable config. We can see that it's the default configuration for all equatable instances, and we're setting stringify equal to kdebug mode, which is going to be true whenever we compile in debug mode, and false otherwise. So now we don't have to go into every single one of our files that uses equatable and manually add toString. We can just rely on this one line here. Let's save this and save our bottom nav state. Inside of our qubit, we're going to fix the super here. The super constructor will be bottom nav bar state, and the selected item will be the first item, so bottom nav item dot feed, because that's the first item in our bottom navigation bar. The only method our bottom nav bar qubit needs is a method that updates the selected item. So we're going to have void update selected item. It takes in a bottom nav item, and if the item is not equal to the currently selected item, then we should update it. So we just emit a bottom nav bar state with the selected item. And now we're all done with our nav bar qubit. Inside nav screen, we need to remember to provide our nav bar qubit to our screen in order to use it. So we can wrap our nav screen inside of a new widget, block provider, of type bottom nav bar qubit, and make sure to import Flutter block and import our bottom nav bar qubit. And then we can create. We're not using the context, so this can be an underscore. And then we instantiate bottom nav bar qubit. Now let's hit save. And then down here, we can wrap our scaffold inside of a block builder. And this block builder is going to be of type bottom nav bar qubit. And then for the selected item, we can pass in state.selected item. The on tap will be context.read bottom nav bar qubit dot update selected item, where we need to pass in the item we just selected. So that will be final selected item is equal to bottom nav item dot values index selected item. Now if we save that, we get an error, and that's because we did not hot restart the app. So let's hot restart, and our screen loads. When I click on our bottom nav items, we can see it updates correctly.